speaker for this afternoon is Josh LaMore, who has been indirectly related to Honors at Post for a number of years. When he was an undergraduate in the Honors Then program on our Brooklyn campus, he kept submitting poetry to the Poetry Center's annual contest and winning. So even then, I came to know Josh because he would turn up once a year to read his winning poem. After he completed that, he applied for a position as an intern to the National Collegiate Honors Council Partners in the Parks program, which I had founded in 2007. He was our first intern, and in the course of his connection to seated breaks in Utah and to the Utah parks and to the people who have helped honors students develop a relationship with the National Park Service, he's played an incredibly important national role in promoting honor students in particular to go on these adventures into wilderness. Now, before he starts, I just want to remind people that students who have taken 2 classes in honors that are technically called green classes, that is, classes related to environmental ideas, and they're all marked in asterisks on the website, are entitled to a free week in a Partners in the Parks program. You're talking about a value of probably between $1,000 and $1,800 that enables you to go to a national park along with students from other honors programs and colleges around the country. It includes transportation and ground arrangements and everything for a week's immersion in a national park. These are transforming experiences for people, myself included. They include camping and cooking and hiking and boating and everything. And Josh is going to tell you a lot more about the offerings that we have through this program. I just want you to keep in mind that if you would like to do this, LIU can make it happen for you for free. And so without further ado, I'd like to introduce Josh LaMore.
Thank you, Joan, for the nice introduction. So, just a quick question, a very broad question. Why are you guys here? And I don't mean here in this room. Well, maybe I mean here in this room. Maybe I mean here at the university, actually, yeah. Why did you come to university? And I'm hoping that some of you can actually share why you decided to come to university with me. Who wants to go first? Why did you come to university? Yeah. Because you felt like you'd be good education here? Is it?
Yeah, in the craft.
In your craft. And what is your craft?
Musical theater.
Musical theater. So you came to learn about musical theater. Anyone else? Yes.
I thought Post was closer to New York City when I first got
Dave Hugo is a very convincing man.
Dave Hugo is a very convincing man. Okay. All right. Do you care to?
I'm an acting major, and at audition, was really passionate.
So you came here specifically to study acting, and what are you hoping to do with that when you finish? No, I'm not
Well, let's
bashing
see.
the. I don't mean to bash.
Work as a waitress, of course.
Okay, great.
Work, hopefully, work consistently in theater.
Okay. And is your hopes to work in music, right? And theater. Oh, anyone else? One here, someone else. Yes.
stepping stone to go to graduate school. And what do you want to study in graduate school? Veterinary medicine. So you want to be a vet of some sort. So I had to take a core seminar class of some sort. It was mandatory of all freshman students, and it was basically to teach you how to be in college. I don't know if you had to take anything like that. And that was kind of their first question, and I stumped them just by simply saying that I came here to learn, and that was the end objective. And I'm not discrediting anybody's ideas about a career trajectory, because we all indeed have to survive one way or another, but learning is priceless, and the enlightenment that can come from it, the transformations that can come from it are just, they're just beyond words. So I was just curious where you guys' heads were after that, and I wanted to share what I thought about why I went to university. And so yeah, I ended up at LIU Brooklyn after a short stint of homelessness on the West Coast. And that was just because I wanted to have a different sort of experience, and that's also why, after being on the West Coast, I came to the East Coast. And then through grants and scholarships, I was able to finally get through school. I got pulled into honors. The honors director there, Chris Fleischer, it's like, you belong in honors. She pulled me in there, and then a year later, you belong in this program, Partners in the Parks. Here, you're going. This is the one. Go now. Get out of here. Does that sound familiar? All right. Well, anyways, that was just a little introduction. Thank you guys for sharing why it is you're in school, and I think those are all really great aspirations. So it was fall, and I was living about 25 miles from the nearest town without cell phone service. I had just finished working for the day with the National Park Service at Cedar Breaks National Monument, which this is a picture of Cedar Breaks, and this is almost July, and as you can see, there's still lots of snow. And it'll start snowing again, or it started snowing again that year towards the middle of August. Anyways, so I had just finished work for the day, and since I had just moved there from New York City, of course, I didn't have a car, so I asked my friend Jamie here if she would drop me off at the trailhead that was maybe 15 or 20 miles from the park. And she agreed, and so I started off on what's called the Sydney Peak Trail, which starts at a little over 11,000 feet in elevation, and it overlooks the Sydney Valley, which these pictures aren't great because I didn't have a good camera, but you can kind of see a little bit of water there in the valley below. Really beautiful place, really remote. It was October, which means that visitors aren't around. Very, very few people in the park. It was also probably about 3 in the afternoon, so starting to get dark. The day was winding down a little bit. Very quiet, so quiet that all you hear is the ringing in your ears. And any little rush of wind is just like a roar. You swear the ocean is right behind you, and it never really is. But so it was kind of eerie, and it was strange, and it was starting to snowflake a little, and I felt like I was being watched or followed, and it was just, I don't know if you've ever had that feeling when you've kind of been in a quiet, desolate place where you just feel like something's right behind you. So I was just kind of conscious that there was this thing going on. Anyways, I stopped to take this picture, and as I was focusing on taking this picture, I felt a nudge on the back of my leg. That was pretty weird, and I was terrified to turn around, but finally I decided that I would go on ahead and turn around, and that's when I met snow. So as sweet and innocent as snow looks, I was terrified because this is sheepdog country, and if the sheepdog doesn't know you but sees you, you should probably be concerned because they're very aggressive and they're defensive to protect their sheep. Although there weren't any sheep around, this was just a dog who
randomly happened to nudge my leg, but still, I was very apprehensive about the whole thing. So I kind of just backed away and started walking the trail back very slowly. And she followed. And what I noticed was not only was she following, but I could see that she was very malnourished and she was kind of nervous and all of these things, and she was licking up any little water that was held in any small divot in any rock. So I realized that she was really thirsty and she was following me and that she must be desperate. So I decided to take a risk, and I took out my water bottle and I started pouring the water into my hand so that she could actually catch it before it would fall and she couldn't drink it. And she drank the water out of my hand. And she ended up following me the 7 miles out of the Sydney Creek part of the Dixie National Forest wilderness to where I was to be picked up. And of course my friend Jamie, her reaction was, only you would go into the wilderness and come back with a dog directing you on how to get out. I had kind of developed that sort of strange, that strange reputation of being this New York wanderer who always ended up in the most ridiculous situations. And so I'm here to carry on in Snow's spirit, to encourage you all to wander until you discover something so surprising that it leads you home with an altered understanding or even a complete change in trajectory, just a complete change in perspective, a surprise. And more than anything, I wish for you to seek out, experience bewilderment, even if it's just for a moment or two. You're probably wondering what I mean by bewilderment. So I thought maybe we could break the word down a little bit. For some reason, I love breaking this word down. So there's the B part of it, which is actually thoroughly. And then there's the wilder part of it, which of course has many connotations, but the one that I've been gravitating towards is to go or led astray, and then also sometimes it's lured into the wild. Now I like this breakdown of the word, but I still like what Robert Frost said on the 100th anniversary of Henry David Thoreau's death. Robert Frost was talking about Daniel Boone and how Daniel Boone complained, even though he had explored these places that none of the Anglos had ever been in the United States, he still complained that he had never found himself bewildered. That is, he never found himself so incredibly lost that he could not find his way back. And then Robert Frost went on to say, Henry David Thoreau was able to do that in the corner of a cabin. He could get bewildered almost any time he wanted. So to me that suggests that there's a lot going on with this idea of bewilderment, and I'm not excluding nature from it, but intense excursions into nature alone may not get you that bewilderment, but it certainly can start getting you there. It's to think differently and to find yourself so puzzled that you're completely changed. So with this in mind, today I'm daring you to take a leap outside of your comfort zones into the unknown so that you may enhance your life and transcend your current perspective. In other words, I'm encouraging you to be wilder. And Honors has a program for this, and like we were saying a little while ago, it's called Partners in the Parks. So, Partners in the Parks is a week-long program that immerses National Collegiate Honors students from around the U.S. in small groups in one or more of its public lands, especially in national parks. And throughout the program, you learn about the park and its ecosystems, its history, some of the current challenges the areas are facing, and you'll learn about potential careers and volunteer opportunities within our public lands. You also engage in these public lands. In other words, you're having experiences in them. You know, you're biking, well not biking, I'm sorry, you're kayaking, you're camping, you're hiking, you're backpacking, you're climbing, you're spelunking in caves, all kinds of different activities in the parks. Or maybe you're driving in a car and you're following alongside some buffalo in South Dakota. And then the other aspect to this is care, stewardship, taking care of our parks, learning how we can be of assistance to all of nature, all of our ecosystems, all of these natural wonders that so desperately need our help. Some past stewardship projects even include counting prairie dogs and counting bighorn sheep in the wilderness areas, which is actually a lot of fun. Recording archaeological sites, that happened in the Parashant Grand Canyon area in some caves that were recently found that had, you know, ancient yucca sandals that had been sitting in that cave undisturbed for well over 1,000 years. There's been even fire hydrant mapping within the park. There's been uprooting of invasive species. There's been cleaning up beaches, and there's even been building some trails. And in case you were wondering, this video was taken by a Partners in Parks group on the High Plains trip. They were in Custom State Park at the time, and this I think was just last year. So that's something that you can experience. So while I've personally had several Partners in the Parks experiences, when I was asked to do this, I thought of it as a great opportunity to find out what other people thought about their experiences, and even what some of the instructors thought about the experiences that they were presenting students and the experiences that they were even having on the trip. So with that in mind, I started reaching out to alums and Partners in the Parks to do oral history interviews with me using Skype. And I had people Skype with me from all over, and I was able to record some of their messages, and I'm going to share bits and pieces of some of their experiences with them. So the first section, I focus on community, because what ends up happening is one person from LIU Post will go on a trip, and someone from Gainesville, Florida will be on the trip, and someone from Montana and elsewhere, and you're all just going to meet at this random place, and then you're going to be living intimately together into the wild for the next week. So it's kind of a big shift and very quickly develop community. So we're going to learn a little bit about that. Maybe. Let me go back. No volume? Not working earlier. Sorry, guys. Not that. I wonder if it's because the HDMI and the audio cable are plugged in. It worked before, but
Do you know how to redirect it to the 1/8 inch?
No, I do not know how to redirect it. Do you think it would come through on just the HDMI cable?
No.
No? Sorry.
Students arrive by themselves.
Perfect. Thank you. Let's try again.
Students arrive by themselves. In large part, they don't know anyone else who's been here, so they come viewing this from the perspective of theirs. Just, this is my experience, this is what I'm going to do, this is what I'm going to go home having learned. And again, it doesn't take very long for them to recognize this is not an individual experience. This is a community experience and a team experience. And what one person experiences on our trip, everyone experiences on our trip.
Here's another alum.
I had never been to Arkansas. I had never flown on a plane to a strange place by myself before, so I just packed everything up and I went. And I got there and met a whole bunch of strangers, and I was kind of unsure of what it would be like. It turned out to be fantastic. We all became really, really close, really, really fast, and that was intriguing to me. It actually inspired me to do my honors thesis on group dynamics.
And everybody is just happy where they are, but then once you get all these people together and discuss and talk, you share people and say, oh, I never thought of it that way, like it's beautiful forest and forests, it's just experience.
Sorry, he was hard to hear.
Let me interject.
Yeah.
There was a student here, he went on 2.
Yes, he went on 3.
3. The picture he sent back was of himself leaning over the branch. I almost killed him. What were you thinking? He said it was awesome. Anyway, he teaches middle school now. He got one after the other. Whatever I was saying
Because I was partners in the parks, and my ability to just go and make friends and be okay with meeting up with a whole bunch of strangers that I've never met before and don't know anything about. It kind of empowered me to take the risks that I needed to take that ended up getting me here.
It ended up allowing me or teaching me how to take the risks that it took so that I could end up here. And by here, she means where she's at, which we'll learn about what she's up to now based on her experiences with partners in the parks. But this taking a leap, this putting yourself out there comes up time and time again when I talk to previous alums. And out of our comfort zone, so this I believe is a picture from Sequoia, which Tim, he went on one of these trips as well. Now, during the day, it could be somewhere in the 80s, and at night, it'll get so cold that sometimes your zipper will freeze due to the condensation of breathing inside the tent. It gets so cold at night. So that's just you really rely on all of the people on the trip just in order to survive.
I didn't realize how comfortable I was and how little I knew about everything, about the world, about people, about experiencing different people, which was a big part of it.
I didn't realize how comfortable I was and how little I knew about people and how different they were and how different things are in other places. That's kind of what Tim was saying. I'm sorry to hear. So this is also on the topic of discomfort. This is one of my favorites.
One of the rangers, and he was like a really cool dude and like had been a ranger for like multiple national parks, and he even slept out in the snow. Like he had 2 sleeping bags and like slept out in the snow, and like that like dumbfounded me and like made me want to do it. So it just seemed like so cool, and especially because one evening I woke up in the middle of the night and had to go to the bathroom. And like I remember JC and John, I believe is his name, at SU that was there with us, like warning us not to drink too many liquids before we go to sleep because like your body is trying to keep that liquid inside you warm. So like you eventually will just like get colder and colder. So like I'm sitting there in my sleeping bag and I'm like, I really have to go to the bathroom and I do not want to wake up and like trek out into the snow. But I do, and like I'm so glad I did because when I got out there, oh, the stars were just like, it was like the best sky I've ever seen. I almost fell in the snow because I was like just so dumbfounded, and I like caught myself apart, like went completely in the snow. And I'm just in like leggings and like some wool socks and like my shirt, maybe a light sweater. And I remember like standing up there and just like freezing for a while. It was just so beautiful. Like the Milky Way was, man, it looked like you see in like really good pictures, but like even better in person. Like it seemed so close and it was so dark. And that's why I was kind of like jealous of that ranger, because he was like sleeping out there and like got to like, if you woke up or just like lay in the snow and got to just see like this beautiful like part of Earth, or I guess not Earth, like part of the universe. And yeah, I know that trip was like so memorable. Like the sunsets and the sunrises were just, it was all incredible.
Out of your comfort zone and into incredible beauty that you might not have otherwise even known was possible?
I have been an outdoorsy person my whole life. I've camped and I've hiked and I live in Utah, so wilderness is in my backyard. So it wasn't, the camping, the wilderness, that kind of thing wasn't new to me. So the thing that really, I guess, convinced me that this is something I wanted to dive more deeply into was the challenge that presented itself in pushing yourself physically past the point of comfort. As you know, in that project, we have to climb up a really tough trail to get to our campsite when we're backpacking. And getting up that trail was probably one of the most difficult things I had ever done in my life. And I've done some pretty tough things. And I remember being at the back of the group with a couple of other students that were just really struggling too. And just the encouragement that we were giving to each other to keep going, to keep pushing, and to not give up. And we would set just tiny little goals, and we'd meet those goals, and then we would reward ourselves with a break. And we did that, and it got us to the top of the mountain amazingly. But throughout that whole process, I think I grew more as a person than any other individual experience or activity I have ever it had happened in my life. And I know that that's a really brief summary of that, but it was because of that personal growth I experienced and I witnessed in the students that I really understood the importance of really getting outside of your comfort zone and pushing yourself past what you think you're capable of doing. So by doing that myself and witnessing it in students, that really compelled me. And I swore I would never do that trail again, and it was a couple years later I found myself on that same trail. So there's an addictive component to Partners in the Parks, and I think it is that sense of accomplishment and just reminding ourselves that we can do really, really difficult things.
So there really is this element of physical challenge a lot of times, or sometimes it's just a comfort challenge, you know, having to go to the bathroom outside, or camping outside, or figuring out how to cook a meal, or having to carry all your food for several days. But pushing past that really opens up a serious set of self-confidence.
It was physically challenging in a way that I found really rewarding, and in a way that was accessible to people of all physical abilities. And I think that was a really beautiful component of both trips.
One of the unique things about the Sequoia trip in particular is that there's a physical challenge. As you probably remember, hiking up to Sawtooth Pass, especially for people who have lived their life at sea level, who have never slept outside, who have never been in the mountains, hiking up to 11,000, 12,000 feet elevation, and hiking uphill with a pack on their back for miles and miles in kind of not really a well-maintained trail. I mean, there's a serious physical component to this, and that kind of accomplishment is a unique kind of accomplishment, especially for some honor students who haven't pushed themselves in that way. And I really believe that some of these students who have pushed themselves to do something that they didn't think they could do have been able to take that experience back to their home environment, back to campus, and they have a different kind of confidence about them. So it's not just the learning about the national park. It's not just learning about the ecosystem and the wildlife and vegetation. It's not just learning about the interaction between the federal agencies and the local communities and so forth. It's, that I think students learn a lot about themselves, and they learn a lot about themselves as they get out of their comfort zone and and stretch themselves in various ways. So it's just been a pleasure, I think.
Now for
the whole reason
now for the transformations, the things that transpired in students that brought them to where they were, or where they are now.
It actually becomes a very personal experience, and each person on the trips comes away with something different because they're bringing a different set of experiences with them, a different frame of reference, and then that frame of reference combines with the shared experience. I think everybody takes away something different, and I think it's really meaningful for a lot of students. I've really seen some major changes in people.
It reminded me how much I love the outdoors and how beneficial it is, and all these conservation efforts, like we talked about, leave no trace and everything. It reminded me that I could work in that if I wanted to. And so I started looking into environmental law and stuff like that, and it eventually led me out here where I am doing my best to work on environmental policy, and that's like the way that I want to go. I want to work in environmental policy, public lands, and natural resources and everything, and that's kind of like my passion now.
She went on a trip, her first trip as someone who had been studying psychology for almost 3 years. She came back and instantly switched to studying environmental policy and things of that nature, and then moved to Washington, D.C. and works for a senator helping on environmental policy legislation.
And I was undecided and I didn't know what I was doing. I was taking all the core courses, which were cool. And then I went on the Grand Canyon trip. Johnny, geologist. And then just the experience of seeing all these different landscapes, environments, and habitats, and animals, and plants. I was like, this is really cool. And rocks are really cool. They tell you so much history that I didn't understand in high school. And I started thinking about my experiences in high school, and I thought that I could do it better. So I decided that I wanted to be a teacher.
So he went on his first trip and he was studying criminal justice, and when he came back, he switched to education. I'm going to skip this one, I think, but she lists several of the people that she went on a trip with, and some of them are now in the Air Force. One of them is running their own travel abroad company. Just a lot of different effects.
experience partner.
And this is Hannah.
I'm in Nuremberg, Germany. I work for Adidas, or Adidas, as we call it in the States, and because this is where the world headquarters is. And I'm doing corporate communication in sustainability. So that's kind of where I'm at. And it definitely has sort of been a bit of an indirect correlation to Partners in the Parks.
So after her experiences with Partners in the Parks, she realized that she wanted to be doing something where she was contributing to the environment, something that she felt that she could be passionate about every day in her life. And then she started applying to jobs. She's a sustainability coordinator in Germany for Adidas. I mean, it's just really incredible transformations.
Right now, I'm actually building railroads in Alaska.
She's building railroads in Alaska. Enough said. This woman, Adelia Walker, she's now in charge of the Sustainable Tourism Bureau in southwestern Virginia for 14 counties. And as for myself, I wrote up a thing for myself so that I would remember what I wanted to say. Let's see what it is. So yeah, I became the first intern fellow. I worked 2 seasons at Cedar Breaks in southwestern Utah. as an interpretive ranger, so describing the landscape in a way that others could understand and appreciate it, and also talking about the cultural history there and explaining it to people in a way that they could appreciate it. This all led me to writing a book for Cedar Breaks because I noticed they didn't have one, and that's really where my deepest passion lied. So I wanted to tie nature and writing together in a way that would give back not only to nature and others, but also completed my aspirations. And it was published this May by Zion National Park Forever Foundation. I have some copies for sale today if anyone's interested, and I can just show you what to look at if you would like. I must emphasize, though, that this book and the work with the Park Service, it wouldn't have been possible at all if I hadn't sought out and experienced bewilderment. And I would not have made these leaps at all without partners in the parks. Thank you very much. So I want you guys to start thinking about the projects that you're going to go on. Here's a list of the projects coming up this year. Any questions that you have, I'm happy to answer. Joan, of course, can answer logistical questions probably better than I can. Thank you.
I just want to tell them a couple of things about it. On most of these trips, people come to them with a wide range of backgrounds. So, for example, in the first one, which I chose, which was at Bryce Canyon in Utah, we all had to break up into groups, and the most experienced hikers, which included 2 of my students from Post, went on a 13-mile overnight hike, huge backpacks. They were just gone for a few days. A couple of people who felt slightly less experienced chose 7 miles on an overnight, also sleeping at the bottom of the canyon, cooking, taking all of our gear and water with us. And since I was a complete novice and much older than everybody else, I chose the 1 mile stop and smell the junipers straight down to the bottom of Bryce Canyon, where the other woman with me, Srividya from Brooklyn College, who was an Indian English teacher, she brought all the makings for great curry. So we had the best food at the bottom of the canyon, and we were told that we would not take tents and that we would just take sleeping bags and sleep outside. It was 29 degrees out that night, and we all huddled together and made a big mountain of people and got through the night on our curry. But the important thing is, you don't have to be experienced to do this at all. There are several of these trips that include like whitewater rafting, canoeing, very gentle hiking, others that include archaeology and human culture on sites like Buffalo River. So the important thing when you make a decision is to choose a park that works for what you have, your skill level, and also some level of aspiration. I also did one in the Virgin Islands where we snorkeled a lot, but I was not a powerful enough swimmer to swim a half a mile over to the other shore. On the other hand, I was really good at spotting a 40-foot catamaran with a bar on board. So they picked me up and I watched the others swim. So I don't want you to be discouraged. If you think, I can't go off with Johnny McLean and get up to the top of Sawtooth in Sequoia. We've had 3 students do that trip successfully, but all of them were either Eagle Scouts or really strong hikers. I will help you make a choice when you decide that you want to go on one of these. I've been on many, and I've been connected with this for now more than 10 years. So I'll be glad to help you so that you do something you'll be proud of and you'll push yourself, but but you will never feel that you're in competition with other people to do the heavy journeying. I think that's important.
And actually on the Sequoia trip there were, I helped lead it one year, and I also went on the Sequoia trip one year, and that's probably the most rigorous of them. There were several students who had never been hiking before, and they did absolutely fine, because everyone moves as a group and everyone helps each other, and that's part of the experience. The most important thing is that you just take the leap and go. And you know, as far as why I asked in the beginning, why are you here, what are you doing at school, it's just an experience that can really show you an idea, a feeling, an understanding that you never even knew existed, that you didn't even know was out there. So I really recommend it.
Any other questions? How many people in this room have been west of the Mississippi River? How many people have been to a national park? You'll find that on partners' trips, a lot of the people are those who went to national parks on family trips, and that the big difference is that in partners, we go into backcountry, and we're not necessarily near any of the tourists. So even if you've been to a park, partners would get you deeper in, and with a lot of the assistance of interpretive ranges, such as Josh has been.